All right, well, the result was kind of what we expected, but the game did not go, I don't think, anything like we expected. The Lions right in this thing against Green Bay, right down to the bitter end. They do lose 31-24 in the end to fall to 5-8 on the season. Not that they were going to make it, but there's still a chance for the playoffs. Those all but dashed after today. Green Bay moves to the 1 seed. They are 10-3 on the season right now, but the big news comes at the end of this game, Dave. Matthew Stafford looking for the end zone, looking for a first down. He's right down in there. An awkward slide, gets hit from behind, crunches, doubles over a little bit. I immediately thought of the back. Why wouldn't you? Broken back each of the last 2 years. I'm thinking, oh, crap, sounds like it is a rib injury. He did not return to the game. Chase Daniel would finish it out. He went into the tunnel, came out, threw a little bit, whatever. Darrell Bevel has just said it's too early. They don't know what it is. Stafford is getting x-rays, as you would imagine he would do, on those ribs. But going forward, he says it's way too early to tell. Quote, it would take something drastic to keep him from playing. Well, he didn't play today. So what's going on here? He didn't play today. So to me, that does not sound good at all. Just your thoughts on that. Obviously, this team isn't going anywhere this season, but we saw last year, Dave. They don't have this guy. They're done. More importantly, going forward, another injury, possibly major, to Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, it's always hard to speculate as far as injuries go. And it's crazy. We just had Drew Brees, who broke 11 ribs altogether. Right. So
and he kept playing. Remember?
Yeah, and so the fact that Stafford couldn't throw, or I guess, he could throw, but he couldn't function the way he needed to play quarterback in the NFL. If I'm going to speculate and guess at something, I'm going to guess that the ribs aren't broken, and I think it might be some of the cartilage down there, because speaking from experience, I've had that happen to me, and you can't throw. I had a hard time breathing for 3 months after getting a helmet to the ribs. So sometimes the cartilage can be much worse than a break. So if that's the case, then I think that was probably the last play that we see from Stafford for this year, and maybe his career with the Lions.
But that's the question. His value may have not been too high to begin with. People are saying, oh, there's no way you're getting a first-round pick for him. Maybe you will. Who knows? Blah, blah, blah. If he is done 3 years in a row.
Break his back, make him humble.
His value is in the toilet at that point, is it not?
Quite possibly. I've seen some stranger things happen with players getting hurt, kind of thinking that they're not going to get picked up or anything like that. But yeah, as far as getting a first round or first or second even, unless a team's desperate to get them and that's just what they are willing to give up, I highly doubt that's going to happen. It is unfortunate, though, to see Stafford go down for the third time in a row. You and I remember going to Lions games his first few years, and he was getting hurt back then, nicked up and out, and everybody saying he was made of glass. And then all of a sudden he became Iron Man and became the toughest guy in the NFL after beating the Browns, I think, with his shoulder hanging off of his arm.
Right. And that was early, too, in his career.
Yeah.
All this glass stuff is garbage.
Right. And the fact that he's older now, it's going to make things harder, as far as recovery and things go like that. So, it's unfortunate for the Lions and possibly for him with, what his future is going to hold as far as where he goes to play. And unless he just comes back.
Yeah, he might be all right. We don't know. It's all speculation at this point, but it doesn't look good when he doesn't come back.
Right.
It doesn't look good. He finished that drive, and then he was done after that.
And he barely got the handoff to Johnson as it was. He grabbed for his ribs right away.
Exactly. And that's a big problem. And again, you can talk about, he's made of glass or whatever. Well, here's another day where he gets sacked 4 times. And on top of that, 6 hits on the day. Now, plenty of people out there, darn near 100% of the people out there, believe that injury should have never happened because the Lions should have had the ball at the 1 or 2 yard line after a incredible play by Marvin Jones down the sideline, brings it in. He was ruled out of bounds. They challenged the play, and it was upheld. Everybody online believes this guy caught the ball. Of all people, you never see this, really. Dean Blandino disagreeing with the ref on the field. He thought it was a grab.
You blew it!
And there you go. And it cost the Lions, obviously, Stafford, because then they had to, and it cost them a couple of minutes off the clock, which really hurt them in the game. Your thoughts on that? I will give mine in the second, because I believe the referee and myself are the only two people on this planet that don't think it was a catch. I do not think that was a catch. I know I'm in the one of one here.
Look at you, giant idiot.
I'm hearing 3 feet down. What are people looking at with 3? I don't know what you're looking at. That foot was dragged an hour before he grabbed the ball. So tell me what I'm missing here.
I say that you're a terrible reporter.
It's hard to piece it together coming from the sideline, the overtop view, and then the low view, because and as great as the turf is, that rubber kicking up kind of distorts everything. You're right. He dragged his foot way early, and it's really hard to tell at what point it lifts up because of the turf flying. Does the turf continue? And that's the hardest thing. As far as the call itself, whatever was ruled on the field is what was the way it was gonna stay. It's I would hate to be the referee to make that decision with what you're given to look at. I mean, that is just a hard call to make, and I am really surprised that so many people are so what's the word?
Well,
hell bent on it being a catch. Because there's still that disparity. You still can't see things clearly. So, regardless, from my view, whatever, I think it was a catch. I think his foot did stay down long enough, but again, hard to tell. But either way, the call was what it was. It was ruled out of bounds. And that's just the way things are going to happen. Is it unfortunate
they still
that
scored, but they lost time and all that?
Right, and that's the thing is, everybody can say, well, if this, if that. I mean, that's been the last 50 years of the Lions.
Well,
if that.
I think you nailed it, though. It was because what was called on the field. And again, I keep seeing all these pictures, and in my mind, you're nailing it. From the one angle, from the other end zone, you see what people are posting a picture of him with both feet down. To me, both feet are not down, and I'm going to put it up here, and it might get our video pulled by putting this up here. But his foot is not down, but it's hard to tell because, like you said, he dragged it before, so you have that black rubber flying up, so you can't totally tell where it is. And I don't think people realize that he dragged his foot way early. I think that foot came up and never came back down. Whatever. The biggest thing there is Stafford more than anything. So the fact that the drive kept going and then they lose him after the thing is over with. But I just hate hearing, and you kind of hinted at it, but the last 50 years of the Lions, well, that's because they put themselves in this position more often than not.
We sucked.
I keep hearing the Lions can get no play. They can get no call. They never get a call. They never get a call. There were 5 penalties called on the Packers on that drive. They're cheating for the Packers. They called 5 penalties on that drive alone. 3 defensive holding. Do you ever see 3 defensive hold calls in a game? They called 3.
Not usually.
They called 3 on that drive. Like, what are you talking about? We can't catch a break. We can't get a call. The penalties were 12-4 for the game, 5 on that drive.
That's really bad reporting.
I don't know what planet people are on.
Shut up!
It's amazing. Great play by Marv, though. Ever since we called him out like week whatever that was, he's been playing great. Incredible effort. Incredible effort. And it didn't lose them a game. It obviously, hurt them, especially with Stafford. But they were in this game the entire time. This was nothing like the first game, Dave. Nothing at all like the first game where they went up early and then just got trounced after that, losing 42-21. Bevel's team scores first. They were in this the entire time. They go into halftime, 14-14. You can make fun of the whole fun, Darrell Bevel's fun house, all this, which people did all week. It's a new coach. Of course, they're going to get up and play for the new coach. Yeah, they lost this game because they don't have the talent. But, dude, that whole atmosphere change thing, I think, is real. It's prevalent. I think we saw it today again.
Yeah, and whether it's going into the clear, having Bevel there, or just getting away from Patricia, which as more things come out, it really sounds like he was a dark cloud over that team. Yep. So I agree with you. I think the atmosphere, the body language again, they were playing much more loose. They were playing relaxed, and they came into that game thinking that they can win. And which none of us did.
Right. No.
So, and going to the fact that they were tied going into the half, I thought it was great that they tried to move the ball down with 35 seconds left, because I feel like in the past, for at least this season, they would have probably just taken a knee and been like, all right, well, let's go to the half. Well,
right.
They kind of have nothing to lose, so let's push a little bit. And I love that. I thought that was great. The other thing that stuck out to me was when they did fall behind by 2 touchdowns, again, you would never know it. They just bounced right back. They got right back to business. Like, you could not tell that they were down by 2 touchdowns against the second best offense in the NFL.
Yep.
So, and the fact that the offense was able to sustain some drives and keep that offense off the field, I think was a major key in that. And the defense wasn't great, but they made some plays that kept them in the game.
Yeah, I don't really think, you sit there like, okay, we gave up 31 points and whatnot, but it really wasn't that bad. I thought it would be worse than that. And you look at Rodgers' numbers, and they're great. He has a 133 rating, 26 of 33, 3 touchdowns, 290. But it wasn't – with this defense, I thought it would be much worse. And Devontae finishes with 7 for $115 on 10 targets. But really, outside of that very first catch at the beginning of the game when everybody's like, okay, here we go.
Right.
He did not murder them in this game. He really didn't. So give up 31 points. Okay, well, they're averaging 31 and a half, actually. They're averaging they had 488 yards in the last game, a league high, more than the Chiefs, 31 and a half points per game. They held them to their average. So that's not bad. It really isn't when you think of it in those terms. So I give it to those guys. Obviously not great, but guess what? Jones didn't blow up like he did. I thought he was going to run over them again because maybe they doubled Devontae, try to take him out. He went for 236 and 3 touchdowns in the first game. What did he have in this game? 69 yards.
Yep. Yeah, averaged 4.6, 15 carries. Jamal Williams had 38 yards, and then Rodgers with 13. So, that's the way they've kind of been ran on in a few games this year. You would think that Jones would have blown up again, and I thought for sure Devontae would have went over 200 yards after getting 56 on the first catch, which was just absolutely sick the way he broke that dude's ankles.
Well, yeah, I mean, Warrior gets burnt, and then Harmon is standing there looking like Bob Cousy with LeBron coming at him full speed. He's like, and he just goes right around him. And I mean, what are you doing? Bevel has definitely changed things around here to the point where you're not seeing it from anybody that matters, but you're seeing people that are saying, what are we doing with Bevel? Can we keep
Right.
Bevel at least as an O coordinator? Can we keep Bevel? You're starting to see that, and that is what some people were worried about.
Yeah, and I wonder how coaches, how many instances where an interim has gone back to his offensive coordinator or his coordinator position. I wonder if that would be a hard thing to do, or if you're just like, well, you don't get the job, and if the head coach doesn't want you, I guess that probably plays into it more than anything is who the coach wants. But
yeah, absolutely. And does he know him? Does he like him? All that
Mhm.
kind of thing. Because I don't think anybody's going to be knocking on the door to have Bevel be their head coach. I mean, no one was even really knocking for him to be the O coordinator when we got him. Yeah, I
Right.
remember when he came here, people were like, Errol Bevel, really? Isn't the Seahawks guy that didn't run Marshawn Lynch on the goal line, that guy, the guy who hasn't been a coordinator since then, that guy. So I could see it, at least as a coordinator. I do not see as the head coach, but
I agree.
you got to like the way the players have responded to him. And it seems like he's really, really liking what he's doing. He's really brought, and it may be, like you said, it wasn't hard to do because Patricia was such a
Yeah.
cancer in that locker room that maybe that was easier to do. But anyway, Rodgers, go ahead.
And that's the other thing is he kind of fell into almost the perfect position to have this effect on them with Patricia being out and things being so bad as far as the chemistry and so I think this is kind of like the perfect storm for him. And if he doesn't stay here, it may bring some light to get him, a spot somewhere else. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's going to have a job doing something somewhere. No,
Right.
It might not be an OC. It's definitely not going to be a head coach, but he's going to have work wherever it is. I think he has proven that. And one guy, obviously, who's proven to maybe be the best quarterback ever, at least talent-wise, is Aaron Rodgers. And I don't think anybody knows that better than us around here in Michigan. Year after year after year, this dude has just punished the Detroit Lions, as has the entire Packers team over the last however many years, 30, 25 at least. Anyway, he does it again tonight. Great game by him. Didn't do anything nuts today by any stretch, but we said the numbers already. Rating of 133. He only misses 7 passes the entire game. He is playing at an MVP level. I would think, what do you think? He's like number 2 right now in the league, maybe? Behind Pat?
I got to think it's 1 and 1A.
It could be 2 interceptions
it's
today for Mahomes. So it's
Was
possible.
it 2 or 3?
Did he throw 3? Well, he had 2 in like the first quarter.
Yeah, he ended up throwing another one.
All right, well, so today is definitely going to help Rodgers. But anyway,
Yeah.
That got me thinking, who are just the Detroit killers? Who are guys, like right now? Team's no good, whatever. But Whit Merrifield comes up to the plate for the Royals. And I'm like, oh, this guy's getting on base. This dude's getting on base. Like every time. Billy Butler, who is not a good baseball player, this dude gets on base every other time he plays at Tigers. Like, who are these dudes? And, I mean, because Aaron Rodgers has been doing it his whole life. And so It made me think, is he in our lifetime? So let's go back 40 years to 1980 till today. I was thinking, is Aaron Rodgers the number 1 Detroit killer across all 4 major sports? So we made a list. The 5 biggest Detroit killers. Once again, very thoughtful on the name. And my first one, so you have 5, Dave. I have 5. My first one that I thought of really started doing damage. And this dude is 40 years old as well. And he didn't really start killing people till he started killing the Tigers. And his name is Nelson Cruz. And he started it against the Tigers in the playoffs when he was playing for the Rangers back in 2011. This dude comes into game 2 of the ALCS. He hits a game-tying homer in the 7th inning off Max Scherzer. Then he hits a walk-off grand slam a couple of innings later. Game 3, he hits a 3-run homer in the 11th off Jose Valverde. I think the dude, he hit some ridiculous number of home runs in that series. Against the Tigers, this dude has played 9 postseason games against the Tigers. He's hit 8 home runs in 9 postseason games. And he does it during the regular season, too. He's hitting like 300, 373 on base, 23 home runs in his career against the Tigers. And none bigger than in the playoffs. This guy just absolutely smacked us. Nelson Cruz is my number 5 biggest Detroit killer of all time. At least 40 years, my lifetime.
So when you say Detroit killers, in my mind, this went a little bit differently. It's definitely people that have put a hurting to Detroit, but it made me think of people more so that aren't well liked around here or downright hated. So with that being said, my number 5 is going to be Sid the Kid.
He's on my list at number 6.
I can hear people booing and throwing crap at the YouTube right now. He is not liked around Detroit. Not only because he is a great hockey player. He is. He's very successful. But he's known to be kind of a whiner and just a little bit. And he's had some dirty shots on some Red Wings back in 2009 when he laid out Kurt Mulby, and then also cross-check on Zetterberg. And you know that just boils people's blood when you bring up Sidney Crosby, especially when I say that he's a really good hockey player as far as hockey itself goes. So, but yeah, that's number 5.
Yeah, and he, kept the Wings that year from back-to-back cups in that amazing series that goes 7. He wins his first cup. They win it in Detroit in Game 7. And he became the face of the league. He was, kind of like the Packers right now with the fans. They think, they want the Packers to win. Well, they want the Penguins to win because Sid was now the face of the league. So, he was getting all the calls, and even though he already got all the calls, he was whining like crazy and blah, blah, blah. And then also the reason why people don't like him, obviously because he's good, and it was kind of the changing of the guard too. He took over the Wings. Dynasty came down. His was going up. And apparently he didn't shake hands at the end of that 2009 Stanley Cup either. So people not too happy with Sid the Kid. Yeah, I had him right there, dude. He was my number 6 on the list. Sidney Crosby. To this day, dude, that's been 11 years ago, too.
Cool. It's funny, like once you're hated in Detroit, you're pretty much done for the most part. And that kind of just glorifies everything that you do.
Well, and he's hated everywhere too, except for Canada and Pittsburgh. And wherever Nick Hortz lives, he is hated. He is hated everywhere else except for that. My number 4, I think you have this guy as well. I'm going to stick with hockey. Roy Boy, Patrick Waugh. Patrick Waugh.
That jabroni brown blood.
Big time hate. I don't have every stat on earth for this guy, but he was a thorn in the Wings' side. He fights Vernon. He fights Ozzy. The Wings, before he gets traded from Montreal out to Colorado, The Wings dropped 9 shots on them. They beat them 11-1. They don't pull Roy out of the game until he's given up 9 goals. He was already wanting to get traded. That was like the last straw. He came off the ice and tells his coach, trade me now. Never played another game again. And then he goes to Colorado. That was at the end of 95, 96 season. He goes there, and it's actually a bad thing that the Wings maybe did that because they kind of sealed their own fate. Roy goes to the Avs, and the Avs win the Cup that year. They win it that year. The Wings were in the final in 95. They don't make it in 96 because of the Avs. The rivalry starts. Blah, blah, blah. He wins the Cup in 96. He wins another one in 01. 3-time Conn Smythe winner. Arguably the greatest goalie of all time. He brought that winning attitude to the Avs that they didn't have until he got there because he had won Cups before in Montreal. You're really huge for the rivalry. Absolutely huge. And when you got 2 goalies going at it at center ice, you know, and not once but twice, people just hit, and he's so cocky, man. He's to this day as a coach, he's like that.
Yeah.
Patrick Waugh, number 4 on my list of Detroit killers.
Yeah, you hit everything on that. And it's funny, the thing, at least around here, that we all think of is the fighting.
Break his back, make him humble.
It's just crazy because you don't see that. But my number 4 is going to be Adrian Peterson.
Really?
And oddly enough, he's here in Detroit now. So, I'd be curious to see like how people looked at him. But I mean, for so many years, he ran all over Detroit. And I just thought that he played 15 games against Detroit. He ran for 1,517 yards. So let's think about that for a season.
So a whole season, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then only 11 touchdowns, which I thought was kind of low. But he averaged 5.1 a carry, and he was 11-4. So
yeah.
I mean, that's a winning season. That's
a Hall of Fame career against the Lions.
Right. And you're going to be a 2nd or 3rd seed every year. So it just seemed like any time that Minnesota was playing Detroit and Peterson was playing, you were going to put him in your fantasy lineup. You were going to put him in DraftKings, like whatever it is. Like you wanted him because you knew that he was going to get yards and get touchdowns.
Interesting.
But, now he's here. And I mean, today he only had
he's about
4 carries. So, and he says he wants to play till 40. I think he'll probably
in the
do
NFL?
it. Yeah, I think he'll probably be able to do it, but it just really depends on where he's willing to go and how far he's willing to go.
And who's willing to sign him up. That's
exactly.
That might not happen. I'm not so sure about that.
No.
Number 3 for me, and 3 and 2, I had a tough time. I could put one or the other, intermingle. So it's like 2A and 2B, really, for me. 3 is LeBron. This guy comes in the NBA in Cleveland, in the Central Division. The year the Pistons are winning the title is his rookie year. Didn't take him too long to take over. Quickly, what this dude did in 2006, first year he's in the playoffs, semifinals, Pistons had a 2-0 lead. They ended up going down 3-2 and having to win the last 2 games of that series. And that was like the whole thing, the if it ain't rough, it ain't right. That's like where that all started from. And this guy's in the playoffs for the first time, and he's like 21 years old, and he's doing this. Next year, 2007 is when it happened. Pistons again go up 2-0. They go to Cleveland, lose them both. They come back for game 5, 16 minutes left in the game. This one ends up going to double OT. LeBron scores 29 of the final 30 points. I was right there in the front row. Right behind the Cavs bench. Could not believe what I was watching. He scores the final 25 points, 11 of 13 from the field, finishes with 48. He forces OT with a driving dunk. And everybody remembers Tayshaun for the chase down block and all that, and I do too. But I really remember him for ducking out of the way as the LeBron train comes running down and throws it down. They go to overtime. So he wouldn't be on a poster. Well, he's on there because I actually just watched it again today, and he ducks out of the way.
I'm going to go with that being a smart move, though, because he got to walk away.
Well, whatever. So they lose that game, obviously, and then they lose that series. And again, the Pistons wouldn't make the semifinal or the Eastern Conference Finals again the next year. But I'm going to say that right there was a changing of the guard for the Pistons. That was the beginning of the end of the Pistons and that run and that dynasty, whatever you want to call it, that run of 6 straight. That was the beginning of the end. That was the changing of the guard. LeBron was here. He was here to stay. They met again in 2009 in the playoffs. LeBron sweeps them. Then they meet again in 2016. And remember, this is when Piston fans finally thought they had something. In 2016, we got Andre, we got Reggie playing well, we got Stanley Johnson was supposed to be good. Like, they were the 8 seed. No one thought they would win that series, obviously, but they thought it was the beginning of something. They sweep them, and it's over. It's just done. And
the funny thing about thing about that series is, in retrospect, I think the Pistons played the Cavs the toughest out of that entire playoffs.
They did.
If I recall. They gave them a run for their money.
They gave them a run for their money, but what we found out was Andre Drummond couldn't be on the floor at the end of games. And as soon as they took him off, then the Cavs started doing their thing. And it's funny.
Well, we'll make this real quick. My number 3 is Patrick Waugh.
Well, there you go.
Which we've already talked about. And I would like to see where he ranks on a most hated list by Detroit fans, though, because he's got to be 1 or 2.
Well,
and
he's probably
forward
behind.
team.
Yes, he's probably behind Claude Lemieux. I would think he's number 1 on every list of anybody ever. Like all sports. I don't know who would be worse than Claude Lemieux. Ty Domi might be up there, but I think Roy is. Yeah, he's definitely top 5, if not top 2 or 3, I would think.
Yeah, and it's crazy how most of that are it's from hockey.
Oh yeah, well, because you fight and you
scrappy.
Yeah. So okay, Roy. Well, that's nice and quick. Glad you have that one. I had the same one. Number 2.
Number 2.
And again, I said this was interchangeable with LeBron because it's similar. Big Papi, David Ortiz. And it's similar to the LeBron 2007 thing where it kind of ended the era for the Pistons. Big Papi kind of ended the era of the Tigers run. 13, I think, is the best Tiger team out of all those teams. I think 13 was the most talented team. That team should have won the World Series. They didn't even make it because of Big Papi hitting a grand slam in Game 2 to tie it up. That team was dead, man. They were down 5-1. They bring in Benoit to pitch instead of bringing in the lefty on lefty, Phil Koch. And what do you think happens? Papi sends it to the seats or the bullpen. Torrey Hunter flies over the freaking wall. And, yes, that just tied the game. They still had a chance to lose, but it changed everything, man. It changed.
Oh, my gosh.
It changed everything. It changed the momentum. It changed everything. Anyway, so then Leland retires. You get Osmus. They make the playoffs. Baltimore sweeps them the next year. Runs over. Full rebuild. Whatever. But it's not just that. It seems like this dude hit home runs and grand slams against the Tigers all the time. 36
career.
just under a 300 average. He slashes 296, 381, 992 OPS, 36 jacks, buck 19 RBIs for his career. Big Papi, man. And if they were on national TV, forget it. I mean, how many times were they like on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball and the dude sends it to the moon? I mean, yeah. So David Ortiz, number 2.
And you know what? When you bring up his success against Detroit and everything, and contradicting my list, I don't think people hate that guy as much as all these other guys because he's such a freaking good dude. Like, I love hearing that guy talk.
Yeah, he's funny. He's like the fun-loving fat guy, you know?
Yeah. And it was a sad day when he retired. He probably could have played a few more years, but yeah, dude. I mean, he was just so awesome to watch, you know, hitting those bombs. And unfortunate for Detroit. And I agree with you. I think that was the best Tigers team. And it's just crazy to think, you know, what if in Detroit, you know, what if they wouldn't have put in Phil Koch and pulled out that game? That's one thing that kind of bums me out is, I mean, obviously they won in 84 and I was 3 and you were 4, but
right.
You know, it just seems like they're so far away now after being so close that who knows when they'll get another chance with, you know, in our lifetime.
Yeah, you know, I said it then in 06, we had, you know, such a young team and everything, and they came out of nowhere, and everybody's like, oh, well, everybody's so young, you know, we'll be back. And I'm like, baseball is not that easy. Like what the Yankees did there when they went 4 times in 5 years, like that doesn't happen, man. You know, that's not normal. And you saw it. It took them 6 years to get back. And then really when they had their best team, they didn't even make it. So, you know, who knows? I mean, hopefully these prospects work out. Because if they don't, if like 75% of them don't, they're screwed. Number 2 for you.
I'm going to throw Aaron Rodgers.
I play football.
At number 2.
I was MVP last year.
And I'm going to say 2 words. Hail Mary.
Bogus!
And that's just, you know, a fluke player too. It's not that. It's just what he's done over his career against the Lions. Let me read you these stats. 21 games against Detroit.
Not including today, right?
This does not include today. This does include 2 games where he only had 11 attempts and 5 attempts. I think there were games where he got hurt pretty early on.
Yep.
Yeah. So basically 19 games, 5,372 yards, 43 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, 64% completion percentage, a quarterback rating of 104.8.
Yeah, I'm Aaron Rodgers.
Now, again, the 2 games that he left early, he had a rating of 34 and 73. 16-5.
Nobody comes into this house without paying the price.
I went back and looked at, because I was wondering, well, there's Green Bay and there's Favre. And yeah, Favre has bigger numbers because he played a lot longer. But it's efficiency-wise, it's not even close.
They're not close.
I mean, Rodgers.
It's low 80s.
Yeah, Rodgers just killed Detroit and basically killed everybody while he's at it, other than having that one or 2 down years or whatever. But
his down years, dude, his down years are, I mean, well, come on. They're still Pro Bowl years.
Yeah, I'm Aaron Rodgers.
And speaking of like the eye test, watching that dude play quarterback, he just makes it look so freaking easy. The way, I mean, he effortlessly throws the ball and zips it around wherever he wants it to be. You very rarely see that dude throw an inaccurate pass, and he's moving a lot of times while he's doing it.
How about that second touchdown today to Valdez-Scantling? That ball came out of his hand like a bullet, like a dart, and it was an amazing catch by Valdez-Scantling. But my gosh, dude, he needed to put it in one spot, and he did. And it was just incredible.
I almost soiled myself.
And that's what he's done time after time. it's funny. He likes to, sometimes he'll get rushed and he'll run backwards a little bit, roll around, and just fling the ball 60 yards down the field for a touchdown. But he hasn't been doing that forever because he had to learn it. He learned how to do that from Patrick Mahomes, thankfully.
Yep.
The same way he learned about the no-look pass, the shuttle pass.
We really created the quarterback position 3 years ago. I mean,
basically.
We were playing Red Grange football until then.
Quarterbacks know how to draw teams off sides now.
Yeah, who would have thought?
So,
hey, what if I
for those of you,
what if I fake the handoff? See, and then I throw it to somebody.
What throw it? What is throwing it?
Right. You mean I can zip this over here?
For those of you that don't know, we're making a joke of Pat McPhee and Aaron Rodgers talk on a podcast, and they've kind of joked about this because of the way the announcers and everything just kind of gush over Pat Mahomes, which I'm not taking anything away from him. He's absolutely fantastic.
Dude's freaking awesome.
Yeah, and it's just funny. I just get a kick out of it and how nonchalant he is about it.
No,
and
just say it like this. He's not doing really anything anybody else hasn't done. He's just doing it way better.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
The dude is awesome, man.
But and Detroit fans obviously know that they're going to have a tough time against Rodgers, but I don't know how you can't help but like the dude. And he's entertaining and he's funny. And I will say the State Farm commercials got on my nerves a little bit.
That's my touchdown dance, man.
It was his thing. It was his niche. It was his gimmick. So, you got to have your own thing. And it was creative, and they moved on from it, thankfully.
All right, that is you got Rodgers at number 2. The whole reason we came up with this thing. So that means you got one more. Number 1, Detroit killer. Who killed Detroit more than any other athlete since we've been alive? Who you got at number 1?
Oh. Well, he killed Detroit, and he more or less ended an era in Detroit back in 1990. Talking about the dude whose shoes you're probably wearing right now.
I don't have any pants on. So
yeah. Well, I was this just got awkward.
I do have shoes on though.
Sometimes I dream.
No pants, just shoes.
That's how I roll, baby.
That's right. Michael Jordan. I don't need to go over his stats. I mean, everybody knows Michael Jordan, the GOAT, the greatest basketball player of all time. With the release of The Last Dance, I mean, that really kind of rekindled people talking about the Bad Boys era and everything that happened back then, and the disdain.
Especially Isaiah Thomas.
Exactly. The disdain between the Bulls and the Pistons, and Isaiah Thomas specifically.
It became personal with me.
And what the way everything played out with them finally getting over the hump, beating the Pistons, leaving the floor. Again, another handshake thing having to do with Detroit. I don't know how that ends up becoming a thing, but there was just so much controversy, and it was cool to be able to hear about more of that stuff in depth.
They made it personal.
And to even get a rebuttal out of Isaiah and hear some more about it.
Yeah, he carries even to this day.
But yeah, I mean, he and his him and Pippen and the Bulls essentially ended that run, ended that era of the Bad Boys, and the Pistons wouldn't be successful for as far as going far and until winning that championship in 2004, right. Yep. Which really came out of nowhere. But I mean, Detroit went through some really bad years. The years weren't as bad as those uniforms that they had with the teal and the horse, but Michael Jordan, he's just. I feel bad for my son that he didn't get to watch him play, and all he knows is, hears about is how great LeBron is, which not taking anything away from him.
Right.
He's not Jordan. And with everything with the bad voice and everything like that, people don't like him around here. And that's not me, though. I love the guy.
I do not have him on my top 5 list. I didn't even put him on my top 8. I got 8 dudes here because of 2 things. Like, he was definitely rival. Like, no question, he was the rival. And yes, he did put the final fork in the Pistons in 91, walking off the floor. But the Pistons are 3-1 against him in the playoffs. So Detroit Killer, he did end it about. He put the final, but that team was ready to be done. And then after that, they were terrible for a couple of years till they got Grant Hill, and then they were pretty good, but they weren't as good as, Penny and Shaq, and they weren't as good as obviously the Bulls. So I did not put Mike on there, even though if number 1 rival, he probably Avs, those guys, and then Michael Jordan, number 1 rival, probably, no doubt. My number 1 is Rodgers.
I was MVP last year.
There you go.
the thing you mentioned, the Hail Mary, everybody talks about, and the biggest thing with that wasn't that like an untimed down because there was a face mask that most people didn't think was a face mask. Once again, the refs are screwing Detroit, and so they got like an untimed down or an extra second on the clock or something, and then he threw it and touchdown. So that was that. That obviously, everybody just can't stand.
Yeah, I'm Aaron Rodgers.
Bigger than that, to me, there was a couple times in the past few years that the division came down to week 17, and we were in Lambeau or we were at home, whatever it was, twice. 2014 game I was at, comes down to it in Lambeau. Rodgers gets hurt in that game. He got hurt previous, got hurt again, carted off the field. Thought the Lions were going to win this game. Nope. Right. Dude comes back out.
I play football.
He wins.
From the dead.
From the dead, 17-22, threw a couple touchdowns. They win the division. They win that game 30-20. I believe that was the first year under Jim Caldwell. They finished 11-5, and then they jobbed out to the Cowboys, I believe, in that playoff game. Same situation 2 years later. They'd win the division if they won. They were up 14-10 at the half. Rodgers throws 3 of his 4 touchdown passes in the second half. The Lions had a 2-game lead in the North. They blow it. Packers win the division. You mentioned all the numbers. The rating is unbelievable. The yards, 43 touchdowns, which is now what? He threw 3 more today. So now it's 46 touchdowns to 8 interceptions.
Is Aaron Rodgers following me around?
This guy just, to me, it's the multiple. And the year he did the Hail Mary, the Lions weren't good that year, but it was just the fact that, like, that happened and how it happened, and it's the Packers, and we're talking about it again today. Marvin Jones, the refs are out to get us. They cheated. That wasn't a face mask. Just all of it. It had all of that involved, and then he throws the bomb to Richard Rodgers, 61 yards, they lose.
It's my touchdown dance, man.
In Ford Field.
Taking away all the hopes and dreams of all the Lions fans.
Yeah.
We're in this. We just upset the Packers. We did it, and no, we didn't.
Yep. I mean, it was 63 years worth of Lions, everything. I mean, it was everything we talk about, all wrapped into one play or 2 plays. You count, if you're counting the face mask, and it's that dude, and it's everybody going, why can't we get a dude like that? We drafted Stafford number 1. That's what our guy was supposed to be. We took him number 1. This guy gets taken 24. Nobody wants him. He went to Cal. Who's Cal? Cal blows. They're no good. And this guy turns into the most talented guy ever. Well, we keep hearing that our guy is the most talented guy ever. He has the best arm strength ever. He can make throws no one else can make, maybe ever. Why doesn't our guy do this?
We sucked.
This guy is what Lions fans want, and he sticks it to them all the time. That's why he is my number 1 killer.
It's funny to think, like, what drove him? I mean, was it sitting in there for 20 some odd picks?
Part of it,
getting passed up at number 1,
sitting behind aging Brett Favre.
That was my next point. And then sitting behind Favre. It's a good story too. I mean, that's what you had. You make the movie, you're sitting there on draft day. Well, you're behind a legend. Oh, you finally get a chance.
Didn't he go to community college? I believe he went to community college before Cal. I mean,
was it because he wasn't so smart?
I don't think so. I don't think he was very good. And I mean, but dude, look at his talent is just
Too sweet.
And still, when he throws the ball, you good grief. Again, I go back to that second touchdown today. Good night. And the catch was maybe even better. But I think he got a good list, man. You can't argue, or you can make an argument for every single one of those dudes. And, if you want to switch them around, go ahead. I think every single dude we mentioned, you can make a case for. But, man, Aaron Rodgers. And I don't think he's slowing down, dude. I really don't. And who's he got right now? He's got one amazing receiver and then a bunch of dudes. I mean, Tavon Austin played today. Did you even know I didn't even know he was alive. And he actually took our guy Malik Taylor's spot today. So Malik didn't dress. They signed Tavon this week. If anybody wondered, that's why Malik Taylor wasn't on the field, didn't dress today.
Yeah, I did hear that he went for a tryout and then he got signed. But I thought that dude was on somebody's team, just not being used. I was surprised that he was even available.
No, I haven't heard that name in a couple of years. But he did make a catch. He was on the field. So there you go. Dave, anything else before we roll here? Next week, another big one for the boys. Tennessee, they got to try to find a way to stop the former Heisman Trophy winner and the beast, Derrick Henry, next week. Anything, though? Yeah, right. Anything?
Good luck with that.
Well, and we'll say it again. Okay, 31 points. Well, they average over 31. So they did okay today. They did okay today. They did better than expected today, especially with no cornerbacks, with no linemen. Okora's out. Trey Flowers is out. Respectable job.
Oh,
anyway,
for sure.
Final thought.
Derrick Henry ran for 216 against the Jags today. So,
that's it.
Hopefully he doesn't take that momentum into next week.
Well, they also stink, but yeah.
True. So, no, the biggest thing is I really hope Stafford isn't done for the year. I hope he's not hurt that bad and he's able to come back. I like watching that dude play. The Lions are more fun to watch when he plays. It's Chase Daniels, not a bad backup quarterback. I would love to have him on the Steelers last year when Ben went down. So, he'll do a serviceable job. But if Stafford's done for this year, I think the Lions winning is done for the year, and then start looking forward to next year.
Well, and there's a lot of people that will be happy with that. We talked about it last week. Hey, let's go all in on a draft pick. Let's get the best possible pick we can. So I think there's some people that would be plenty happy with Stafford getting shut down. My biggest thing is, again, looking forward. What does this do if the new GM wants to get rid of him and start over? What does that do to his trade value? That's my biggest thing, because that'll now be 3 years in a row with a major injury. Anyway, Davey, I know you got some Steelers to go watch. I don't know if you are watching currently, but there's some good news there. So I'll let you go do that. Appreciate it as always, my man.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.